very likely.
Pregame.com.
Discussing breaking news here, the B team, pregame.tv, Bryan Leonard, Brady, Kannon, and yours truly, Steve Fezzik, breaking down college football and then the NFL with videos. And this first game, I thought was going to be super easy because I saw a Big Ten team is playing, and I know we go against the Big Ten, but conference play has started. That will make it harder. The Purdue Boilermakers, they host everyone's most exciting team, the Iowa Hawkeyes, not Bryan Leonard.
What a lead-in was that? Yeah, we are going to go against a Big Ten team, and that's going to be our winner this week. Yeah, take a look at the Iowa Hawkeyes, and coming into the season, a lot of people are excited about Iowa. A lot of people talked about their easy schedule. They avoid the tough teams in the conference, and they've come out of the gate a little bit slow. The offense is a little bit slow. You read some of the interviews with the players and the coaches, and they couldn't figure out why they couldn't run. They did the same thing as they did last year, same type of personnel as they had last year, but they weren't able to run. Well, last week against Pitt, they started running, and a lot of people were on Pitt in that game. The line really moved. I think a lot of people had given up on Iowa at that point. But now that they've had a little success in the running game, I think they're coming in very confident in this game against Purdue. And Purdue played a really good game last week against an FCS school. But Purdue always plays well against FCS schools. This is the second time they played. I believe both games they were roughly a 3-point favorite, and they crushed both of them. You go back, I mean, they always do well against these smaller schools, and that's because they're not manhandled on the line like they are in normal Big Ten action. So a lot of people now are buying into the Purdue. Now, Purdue did play Notre Dame close. They always played Notre Dame close. That's their big game. That's their big rivalry. So that didn't surprise me. I liked them in that game there. But now they're playing against an Iowa team, and I was really surprised this line came out what it did, and it's actually been bet down. So now you can lay 10 with Iowa, a team that we all liked coming into the season, and nobody's going to run out to the window and say, give me Purdue.
What's interesting about that, I have to say, and I'm tipping, I'm flipping over my whole cards, I did release on an early bird Purdue plus 12.5 on this game back when I know it's 10 now, and I'll talk about some of the reasons for that. But you mentioned about that. There's no question the Iowa, although they got outgained by 100 yards by Pitt, I could call it a phony win. I don't think it really was a phony win. I think it was smash mouth. They ran the ball a lot. They took care of business in that game. Impressive. And Pitt offense is good, and they were able to stop Pittsburgh. And I do recognize phony small wins against Ball State. They should have killed Ball State statistically. Northern Iowa hung around, but they were really killing them statistically. But what really worries me is that Iowa State game where that could have gone either way. And I know that they lost it, but I stack it all up. And really, what I like about Purdue, let's go over to Purdue. And Purdue's horrible.
Yeah. And
talk about why Purdue is horrible, Brady.
They have been for a few years. I mean, it seems like, ever since Drew Brees and the high-flying offense, they just really haven't been able to put it together. And I think it's probably they just don't recruit the same players as the rest of the Big Ten. On the other hand, Iowa, I thought was very impressive in their win over Pittsburgh last week. I was actually on Iowa, and that was a good game to watch if you were on the Hawkeyes because, like you say, they turned to the running game, and they were really pounding them.
Yeah, they were doing what they wanted against Pitt, who I happen to think is a very good team. And it was one of those things that a lot of money came on Pitt. A lot of money went against Iowa.
4 up to 7, then the pros take 7, back down to 6. Right. One thing about the scheduling, part of the reason I landed on Purdue was the fact they haven't left their home state. This is their 5th straight game. I'm talking about the game against Notre Dame, neutral site in the Lucas Oil Stadium, whatever they're calling it this week, in Indianapolis. But I don't like the road trip for Iowa. They play Iowa State. I know it's a one-way rivalry, but it's still rivals. Then they have to wheel all the way out to play Pittsburgh, come home. Now they got to go ahead and go on the road again. So I thought there was a big strategic advantage in the scheduling to Purdue. So that, and with my power ratings, I just see Iowa as a type of team, Bryan, that can't cover as a favorite and will have, but will have success as a dog. I see them playing closer games, so that's why I land on Purdue. But I know that you're on Iowa. I'm gonna let you make it official and come over the top here.
All right. Yeah, Steve makes a lot of great points, and Iowa isn't one of those teams that I'm looking to back as a big favorite many times. But this is a weak team they're playing here in Purdue, and Purdue's games that they looked really good, once again, it's been against 2 FCS teams and against Notre Dame, who they really get up for. This is a game for Iowa. I think they were doubting themselves coming into last week to go on the road and beat a really good Pitt team. I think they got their confidence back now, and this is a team, as we talked about, really easy schedule all the way out. They're building their confidence back up here, and even though they are laying points here on the road, Iowa's always been a good road team. It's because they run the football. Teams that run the football are good plays on the road. Teams that pass the football are teams that have struggled. And you just look at the New Orleans Saints in that regard in the NFL. So we're going to lay the 10 points here with Iowa. This is going to be our top play this week. We'll do it with Iowa. We are going to go against a Big Ten team. Either way we take it, we'll play Iowa minus the 10.
And we both can win. We got plus 12.5 and lay 10. One thing, I always respect the early money also, especially when it's mine. I'm not taking plus 10, but I think if we wait, we may well get even less than 10 on this one. Maybe not a close, but some point, because people are going to see that movement, and no one who's betting Iowa is going to be in a hurry right now.
And I do want to point out, there's been a lot of big line moves so far this football season, and they've been winning. So when people see that, and we saw it last week. I played Memphis minus 6.5, goes all the way to 13.5. There was no buyback in that game, and Memphis crushes them. It's been a lot of that so far this year, so people are going to do that.
Well, like you say, the steam has been winning, and there hasn't been a lot of buyback.
Yes.
You expect that to come, and it really hasn't.
Absolutely, and that's winning begets winning, and people right now are just saying, let me get on the right side, and the right side's where the money goes. And then sometimes you get the reversal, and so what'll happen, this could go all the way down. We've seen stuff like this where it goes down to 7, all of a sudden, boom, you blink and it's back up to 9.5 or 10. So you always have to keep an eye on the markets. One area you don't have to keep as close an eye to is the NFL, where you don't get these crazy line moves back and forth. We're going to move to the NFL and discuss some of the games. I'm going to talk about the Carolina Panthers going ahead and playing the resurgent Baltimore Ravens. Stay with us. Pregame.tv.